Well, the second month of the Occupy movement is underway, with several new cities jumping on board with their support, and even a few city councils. The city of Los Angeles has released a statement saying that it supports the peaceful and nonviolent exercising of First Amendment rights. Now, back on the East Coast, well-known philosopher Noam Chomsky showed up at Occupy Boston to express his support. But in Chicago, things weren't quite as peaceful over the weekend. Protesters are still attempting to create a headquarters for the Occupy Chicago movement, so they marched to Grant Park on Saturday night to try to make that park their very own Zuccotti. But when the park closed, the arrests began.
We are the 99%! We are the 99%! Send the CPT away! Crime, arrest the 1%! Go fight real crime! Arrest the 1%!
Now, overall, 130 people were arrested Saturday night, which marks the fourth week of mass arrests relating to the Occupy movement. But let's go back to where it all started for a moment. Let's go to Zuccotti Park. Over the weekend, the demonstrators got a visit from folk music legend Pete Seeger. And the 92-year-old Seeger was joined by his grandson and several more protesters for an impromptu performance at Symphony Space.
I could be happy just spending my days on a river that flows away.
Now, that wasn't the only action that took place in New York City this weekend. This past Saturday marked the annual day of protest to stop police brutality. So several members of the Occupy movement marched through Manhattan to show their support. And the call to stop police brutality was also echoed by Anonymous. The hacktivist organization, an open supporter of the Occupy movement, released the names, addresses, and social security numbers for members of the International Association of Chief of Police. And in a press release, Anonymous and its subgroup Anti-Sex said that they wanted to go after law enforcement for protecting the 1%. The hackers went on to say, "We have no problem targeting police and releasing their information, even if it puts them at risk, because we want them to experience just a taste of the brutality and misery that they serve us on an everyday basis." Now, I'm not so sure that's the right way to go about it. Not every police officer out there uses excessive violence or gets out of line. And remember, they're also part of the 99%. They're also losing their jobs. They're also losing their homes. That's one of the unfortunate results so far of this Occupy movement across the country. And that it's pitted, in many cases, the two groups against each other, when really they've got the same frustrations with the corporate control of the country. Now, while the Occupy movement continues to grow, so do its coffers. At last count, Occupy Wall Street had received almost $500,000 in donations, and it's now becoming a bit of a sore subject for a lot of protesters who feel like they don't have access to that money. The group's financial committee is having trouble securing people who are able to handle the donations because, as they put it, they're afraid of takers. But the new finances, while a contentious issue, do, however, show the increasing support for the occupiers. So it was once a few thousand people who called for an end to corporate greed has become a nationwide, even global movement backed by at least $500,000 in donations.